Today, I stand before you to talk about a woman who doesn't need a man's shadow to shine. A woman who chooses peace over drama, growth over dependence, and self-love over temporary attention. She lives alone, not because she can't find someone, but because she has found herself. In a world that often measures a woman's worth by the company she keeps, she chooses to rewrite the definition of happiness. This is not a story of loneliness. It's a story of strength. It's not about rejecting love, it's about embracing independence. It's about a woman who realizes that her power doesn't come from who she dates, but from who she is. So today, let's celebrate that woman, the one who stands tall, walks alone, and still smiles with pride. Because she doesn't need validation. She is the validation. Independence is strength, not solitude. It is one of the most misunderstood truths of modern life, especially when it comes to women who choose to live on their own. Society often paints independence as loneliness, and solitude as emptiness. Yet in reality, independence is not about being alone, it is about being complete within yourself. It is the art of standing tall without leaning on others for validation, the courage to build your own peace, and the confidence to know that your worth isn't measured by who stands beside you but by how you stand on your own. Independence is not isolation. It is empowerment. It is the quiet voice inside that says, I am enough. A woman who lives independently is not rejecting love or companionship, she is embracing choice. She understands that love should never come from need, but from freedom. She is not waiting for someone to rescue her from loneliness, because she is not lost. She knows how to enjoy her own company, how to fill her space with energy that uplifts her, and how to protect her peace like a sacred boundary. Her solitude is not a sign of emptiness, it is a reflection of strength, of self-awareness, and of emotional maturity. She doesn't chase attention, because she has already found contentment within herself. When a woman decides to live alone, society tends to whisper. People question her motives, assuming she must be heartbroken, too demanding, or simply unlucky in love. Yet this mindset reveals more about society's discomfort than about her choices. The world has long been conditioned to see a woman's independence as rebellion. But for her, independence is not rebellion. It is liberation. It is a statement that her existence is not dependent on anyone else's approval. She is not incomplete without a partner. She is whole because she has built herself from the inside out. There is a quiet power in walking into an empty home and feeling peace instead of loneliness. There is strength in cooking dinner for one and calling it joy. There is beauty in decorating your own space, not for someone else's approval, but because it reflects who you are. Independence teaches you to find happiness in the smallest moments, the silence of early mornings, the rhythm of your own thoughts, the satisfaction of accomplishing something without assistance. It teaches you that solitude can be nurturing, not frightening, because it allows you to reconnect with your authentic self. True independence doesn't come from material success alone, it is born from emotional resilience. It means making decisions based on your own values, not out of fear of judgment. It means having the courage to say no when something doesn't align with your peace, and the wisdom to say yes when opportunity calls. It means carrying yourself with quiet dignity, even when the world doesn't understand your path. An independent woman doesn't just live alone, she thinks independently, acts intentionally, and builds her life with self-respect as her foundation. Independence teaches patience and gratitude. When you rely solely on yourself, you begin to appreciate the effort behind every achievement. You understand the value of your time, your energy, and your emotions. You stop settling for half-hearted relationships or meaningless distractions because your peace has become too precious to gamble with. Independence refines your standards, not out of arrogance, but out of self-love. It allows you to see that companionship should add value to your life, not fill a void. It transforms love from dependency into partnership. Independence is also about emotional control. It's about understanding that your happiness is your responsibility. No one else can complete you because you were never incomplete. You learn to manage your emotions, to soothe your fears, and to rebuild yourself when life tests your strength. There's power in knowing that even on your worst day, you can still stand back up, because you trust your own resilience. Independence doesn't mean you don't need anyone. It means you are not afraid of being without anyone. It gives you the freedom to love deeply without losing yourself, to care without clinging, to give without expecting validation. Some might see an independent woman as distant or detached, but that's a misunderstanding. She feels deeply, but she has learned to channel her emotions productively. She has learned that vulnerability is not weakness, but she also knows that giving her energy away carelessly is self-destruction. Independence teaches her balance, the ability to nurture others while nurturing herself. It teaches her boundaries, reminding her that saying no is not cruelty but self-respect. Independence is strength because it is built on self-trust. When you live alone, you face challenges that test your patience and resilience. You handle the unexpected, make your own decisions, and take responsibility for your life. Every time you solve a problem without help, you build a new layer of confidence. You stop fearing uncertainty, because you've proven to yourself that you can adapt. That's the kind of strength no one can give you. You have to earn it through experience. Independence also allows you to grow spiritually and mentally. It gives you time to listen to your thoughts without noise, to understand your purpose, and to heal from old wounds. Many people fear being alone because they fear facing themselves. But solitude, when embraced, becomes a mirror. It shows you who you are without distractions, without the masks you wear for others. It challenges you to confront your insecurities and replace them with self-compassion. Independence turns solitude into self-discovery. It teaches you that peace isn't found in people, it's cultivated within. A woman who stands in her independence is not cold or detached. She is aware, grounded, and intentional. She knows that love is beautiful, but it should never be the source of her identity. She doesn't reject connection, she simply refuses to lose herself in it. She understands that strength and softness can coexist. She can be gentle and independent, kind and assertive, compassionate and self-reliant. Her independence doesn't make her less feminine, it makes her more authentic. Independence is also freedom from fear. Fear of judgment, fear of loneliness, fear of failure. When you live independently, you stop shaping your life around others' expectations. You stop needing to prove your worth through relationships or validation. You realize that peace of mind is worth more than social approval. Independence frees you from the pressure to conform and gives you the courage to define success in your own terms. You learn to live deliberately, to build a life that feels good on the inside rather than one that merely looks good from the outside. It takes courage to walk alone in a world that glorifies togetherness. But independence is not about rejecting people. It's about choosing yourself first, so you can give more authentically later. It's about knowing that your happiness shouldn't crumble just because someone leaves. You learn that love is sweeter when it's shared between two whole individuals, not two halves trying to complete each other. Independence prepares you for that kind of love, the kind built on respect, equality and understanding, not dependency or fear. Being independent doesn't mean you never need help. It means you know when and how to ask for it without losing your sense of self. It's about balance, being strong enough to stand alone, but wise enough to accept support when necessary. Independence is strength because it comes with awareness, humility, and self-assurance. You know your worth, you understand your limits, and you choose your path consciously. For a woman, independence is a form of self-protection in a world that often tries to define her worth through relationships. It's not a shield against love. It's a foundation for self-respect. It's a reminder that she is capable of building her dreams, making her decisions, and living her truth unapologetically. She doesn't need to shrink herself to make others comfortable. Her independence is not arrogance, it's self-realization. Every independent woman knows that strength doesn't always roar. Sometimes it's quiet, it's in the calmness of her morning routine, the determination in her goals, the peace she feels when she closes her door at night. It's in her ability to find joy in her own presence, and to keep moving forward even when no one is watching. Independence is strength because it is rooted in authenticity. It means living a life that reflects your values, your choices, and your freedom. It's the confidence to build your own happiness instead of waiting for someone else to deliver it. Independence does not isolate, it empowers. It doesn't take love away, it refines it. It doesn't make a woman cold, it makes her aware. Independence is not about living without people. It's about living without dependency. It's about realizing that solitude can be a sanctuary, that your own company can be fulfilling, and that your worth does not fluctuate with your relationship status. It's about walking through life knowing that you are your own foundation, and that is the most powerful kind of strength there is. Solitude empowers self-discovery and confidence. It is often mistaken for loneliness, yet it is one of the most powerful experiences a person can embrace. Solitude is not about isolation or rejection of others, it is about returning to oneself. It is the deliberate act of being with your own thoughts, emotions, and energy without interference. In a world that constantly demands attention, validation, and connection, solitude becomes a sanctuary, a sacred space where you can listen to your own voice and rediscover who you truly are beneath the noise. It is in solitude that you begin to see yourself clearly, to understand your strengths and weaknesses, and to cultivate the quiet confidence that comes from self-awareness. When you step away from the constant chatter of society, you begin to hear your own mind with clarity. Solitude strips away distractions and reveals your inner dialogue, your fears, and your dreams. It teaches you how to face yourself without masks or filters. In those moments of stillness, you realize that you are not just what the world expects of you. You are something deeper, something more authentic. The process of self-discovery begins when you stop running from silence and start listening to it. You start asking yourself questions that matter. Who am I without my titles? What do I truly value? What kind of life feels meaningful to me? Solitude provides the space for these questions to emerge and for honest answers to take shape. Many people fear being alone because solitude forces them to confront their inner chaos. But growth doesn't come from comfort, it comes from confrontation. In solitude, you meet parts of yourself you may have ignored or suppressed. You learn to understand your insecurities instead of escaping them. You begin to notice patterns in your thinking, the emotions that drive your choices, and the habits that define your days. This awareness is the foundation of transformation. You can only change what you can see, and solitude gives you that vision. It holds up a mirror to your inner world, allowing you to rebuild your identity based on authenticity rather than external influence. Solitude also strengthens emotional intelligence. When you spend time alone, you become more attuned to your feelings and how they fluctuate. You learn how to regulate your emotions without depending on others for comfort or distraction. This emotional stability builds confidence because it teaches you that you are capable of managing yourself. You realize that peace is something you can create, not something you have to search for in others. You stop fearing silence and start cherishing it as a source of renewal. The more comfortable you become in your own company, the less power external situations have over your mood or sense of worth. In solitude, creativity flourishes. When the mind is quiet, inspiration begins to flow naturally. Great thinkers, artists, and leaders throughout history have sought solitude, not because they disliked people, but because solitude gave them the mental space to think deeply and create meaningfully. When you are alone, your imagination awakens, your intuition sharpens, and your problem-solving abilities expand. You begin to connect ideas in ways that are impossible when you're surrounded by noise. Solitude becomes a creative laboratory where your mind can explore freely, unburdened by judgment or comparison. It is in those quiet moments that you discover what truly excites you, what motivates you, and what kind of life you want to design. Self-discovery through solitude also brings clarity of purpose. When you're constantly influenced by the opinions of others, it's easy to lose sight of your direction. But when you disconnect, even temporarily, you gain perspective. You start recognizing which dreams are truly yours and which ones were shaped by others' expectations. You begin to separate your authentic desires from societal conditioning. This clarity leads to confidence, because you're no longer living a borrowed life. You start making choices that align with your truth, and each decision made from self-awareness strengthens your sense of identity. You stop seeking permission to be yourself because solitude has taught you that your validation comes from within. Solitude builds self-trust. When you spend time alone, you make decisions independently, face challenges alone, and learn to rely on your intuition. Every small victory in solitude, solving a problem, managing an emotion, achieving a goal, reinforces your belief in your own abilities. You start to realize that you are capable of handling life on your own terms. This self-reliance transforms into confidence, not the loud, boastful kind, but the quiet assurance that no matter what happens, you will find a way through. Solitude trains you to be your own support system, your own motivator, your own friend. It shows you that you don't need constant reassurance to feel strong. You can generate that strength from within. Confidence born from solitude is unshakable because it's not dependent on circumstances or approval. It's the kind of confidence that allows you to walk into a room alone and still feel complete. You're no longer desperate to fit in or to please others because you've already made peace with who you are. You've learned to enjoy your own presence, to celebrate your uniqueness, and to respect your boundaries. Solitude teaches you that you don't have to shrink yourself to be accepted or exaggerate yourself to be noticed. You can simply be, and that is enough. The world becomes less intimidating when you no longer fear being alone. Solitude also strengthens resilience. When you learn to navigate life's challenges without constant external support, you develop inner toughness. You stop expecting others to save you and start taking responsibility for your growth. You realize that discomfort is temporary, and every moment of solitude prepares you to handle life with calmness and composure. You learn to sit with uncertainty, to process your emotions without reacting impulsively, and to rebuild yourself after setbacks. That emotional endurance becomes the foundation of true confidence, the quiet belief that you can endure, adapt, and thrive, no matter what life throws your way. In solitude, you also learn to appreciate simplicity. You begin to notice the small details of life that often go unnoticed when you're surrounded by distractions. The sound of your breathing, the beauty of nature, the rhythm of your thoughts. You discover joy in ordinary moments because solitude heightens your awareness. It teaches you gratitude and mindfulness, reminding you that happiness is not in the future or in others. It's here, in this moment within you. This mindfulness cultivates a deep sense of peace, and from that peace, confidence grows naturally. You no longer chase happiness, you embody it. Solitude fosters independence of thought. When you spend time alone, you stop echoing other people's opinions and start forming your own. You develop critical thinking because you're not influenced by group mentality or social pressure. You learn to question, to analyze, and to decide based on your own understanding. This intellectual independence reinforces your confidence in expressing yourself. You stop fearing disagreement because you've learned to stand by your convictions. Solitude empowers you to speak with authenticity and to act with integrity because you've taken the time to understand what you believe in. Spending time in solitude also refines your relationships. When you know yourself deeply, you stop settling for shallow connections. You value quality over quantity, choosing people who align with your energy rather than those who simply fill a void. Solitude helps you recognize that companionship should complement your life, not define it. You approach relationships from a place of confidence rather than need. You no longer fear losing people, because you've learned that your completeness doesn't depend on anyone else's presence. That kind of confidence transforms how you love. It becomes freer, healthier, and more genuine. Solitude teaches you boundaries. When you spend time with yourself, you become aware of what drains you and what energizes you. You learn to say no without guilt, and to protect your emotional space with firmness. You stop overextending yourself for approval, because you understand that your energy is valuable. Boundaries are an act of self-respect, and solitude gives you the clarity to set them. This awareness strengthens your self-esteem and ensures that your confidence is not shaken by other people's opinions or demands. Confidence developed through solitude is deeply rooted because it comes from self-acceptance. When you spend enough time alone, you begin to embrace your imperfections. You stop striving for unrealistic ideals and start appreciating your humanity. You realize that flaws don't make you weak, they make you real. You begin to speak to yourself with kindness instead of criticism, and that inner compassion becomes the foundation of lasting confidence. Solitude transforms the way you view yourself. It replaces self-doubt with self-understanding and insecurity with inner peace. Solitude is not emptiness, it is expansion. It gives you space to grow, to breathe, and to evolve without external interference. It allows you to reconnect with your inner voice, which often gets drowned in the noise of daily life. In solitude, you rediscover your passions, your values, and your truth. You learn that being alone is not something to fear, but something to cherish, because it is in those moments that you find your power. Solitude empowers self-discovery and confidence because it brings you back to the essence of who you are, strong, capable, and complete within yourself.